Do not adjust your radio dial. You are tuned in to the Mark Order Podcast. Join the Mark Order.
It's Wednesday night. You know what that means. I give you a little extra because we had an overrun today on Dynamite, so you got an extended intro. It's like you got an extended episode of Dynamite. It was totally planned. Definitely not planned. I'm here with Ryan and Joe. Last time I was on, we had a nice break from Ryan when I was with Joe, and then I disappeared for a couple weeks. We're keeping it fresh. Keeping it lively. Keeping it kaboom like Dynamite, guys. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for joining us in the chat. Fellers, I feel like it's been a while since the three of us have been together. Were we together last week and I made that up?
It's been a while since I could say I wasn't addicted.
Oh, man.
Why?
No, you weren't here last week.
I wasn't here last week because I was at Fight Club. I'm not supposed to talk about it, but I just did. So there's that. And then Ryan, you were being a student of studying nature, and then you canceled Collider Cast because you had the nerve to hang out with your family on a Saturday.
Why am I the only one getting some shiznaz on this when Joe wasn't here either?
Because Joe asks for permission to talk about spots.
He literally comes in and says, "I'm not going to be here."
Let me finish the sentence, Ryan. Joe asks for permission to talk about spots, so therefore he gets cut slack. But I do appreciate that I'm coming in here and I'm calling shots today. But I'm going to check in with Joe and see how he's doing first, because that sure absolutely rules. And because he sent me a Binghamton Mets hat, which was very kind of him. Happy birthday to me. Older, I'm wiser. I understand the reference on your shirt. How are you, Joe?
I'm good. You know what's funny is I saw that hat and there was actually a Phillies hat next to it. And
then you were like, I'm good.
It's a weird kismet thing of there's a Binghamton hat, there's a Phillies hat. Yeah. The Phillies hat was a little beat up. So
You didn't send Ryan the Phillies hat though, right?
oh god no.
Yeah, see.
I mean, look at the one he has on now is from 1954.
It could use a wash, as they would say in Philly. Okay, that's all we're saying.
I wash my hats.
You wash them? Hi, Ryan. How are you?
I'm good. I wash my hats. Who wouldn't wash their hat?
I mean, you gotta wash your hats. I strictly said that so I could say wash. Like you weird South Jerseyan.
That's not a South Jersey thing.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't. We don't say wash.
I've heard many of people say wash.
I've heard one person in my
the greater Philadelphia, and that might be one that comes from Delaware, but it's definitely made its way to Philly.
I think it's a Delaware thing because I've had one teacher in my entire life say it like that. Everyone else, and we made fun of her for it. So.
And where did you go to school?
Jersey.
Thank you so much.
I
Your floating microphone creeps me out.
I prefer the Central New Jersey dialect.
The central one?
Yeah, I feel more at home with that one.
Yeah, rather than being at home.
That's a pick your poison dialect. You can decide whether you want to go New York or Philly on that one. Hey, yo, a walk in here.
Wow, that was extremely convincing. But
speaking of microphones, Kate, yours is a little low, I think.
Is it?
Is it me, Joe? Or is she a little like lower distant-y?
I don't know. I'm used to it.
Yeah.
Is this better?
It's about the same. Sure. Well.
Is this better?
I'm just saying for a fancy microphone.
Here's the thing. Okay, I have the Blue Yeti right here. I'm getting the rest of my setup set up. I've got painting to do in here. Everybody says you're supposed to hold it vertical, facing backwards, and on the setting that it's on.
Right now,
every time. No, that's what they say, to hold it backwards. Because all the controls are on this side, and that you're supposed to.
You
That
sounded
is
better
okay.
when you flipped it.
Thank you. That's my fucking thing. Is every time I do what I'm told not to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
I have that working. I speak into it the direction you are now.
Everyone's like, don't point it and hold it backwards. And now I feel like they're all playing a prank on me because I feel like when I point it and it's forward, it sounds better.
Yes.
But I got sent some stuff from a personal sponsor, so
Hold on,
I'm gonna
before we
set
go
that
to
up
that,
in here.
I want to point out that a Philadelphian, Mike Kills, says Warsh is not a Philly thing. Thank you.
Oh yeah, but you guys would rob banks together if you could, so I don't trust his opinion at all because he's basically your boyfriend at this point. The
It's a
chat
Western
loving your
Pennsylvania
salt and
thing.
pepper. People loving the shirt, Joe. SJ, who was in New Jersey and did not tell me. Okay, no, that's fine. Not offended. Let me know next time. I'll go to wrestling things with you, but if you want me to. I'm not trying to force my friendship on you. I am a little bit, I guess, but what are you gonna do? But Ryan, how was your
Pittsburgh?
family that was so important that you had to cancel the Collider cast?
It was lovely.
Good.
We had a grand old time. That's about as much as you're going to get out of me, but it was lovely.
That's fair. They were in from Ireland, right?
Yes,
That rules.
they flew over for a weekend.
Nice. That's not that bad of a flight. That's like a 5-hour flight.
8-hour flight.
Okay, but I was
6 to
gonna
8
say
hours.
probably depending where you are in Ireland too.
Yeah.
Because when I flew into Dublin, we had a hell of a tailwind though that got us there in like 4:45 or something insane from New York.
Yeah.
Too. So
Actually, let me say it might be a 6-hour flight, but then you have a couple hours to get to the airport.
Yeah, it's a trek of that's a commitment for a weekend for sure, but
Yeah,
it's not
I
the
wouldn't do it.
worst. Joe, how are you? How was your weekend? How was your week?
Weekend was good. Week has been busy, so looking forward to a somewhat relaxing Memorial Day weekend, full of wrestling and a house guest. But
And a house guest?
yeah, buddy of mine coming in town from Pennsylvania. So
Nice.
You might say Warsh.
Yeah,
No, I
depending
mean-
on where from.
he's from here, so I don't think he's been indoctrinated with saying South Jersey and things.
It's Western Pennsylvania. It's Pittsburgh. Stop putting it on us. I looked it up.
All right, Philly. Whatever.
Hey, at least I have an accent. I'm not a nomad like you.
I appreciate.
I have several accents.
Oh yeah, I've been around you in Binghamton. I know what your accent becomes.
Yeah, and sometimes also like I'll get the weird North Jersey sound that my aunts make. Like there are certain words like I will say hysterical sometimes, which is like the most North Jersey woman in her mid 40s sounding thing. But then when I'm back upstate and I come back, the like flat A's kick right back in. So I'm a mutt of tri-state accents, but Joe, I'm so excited your friend is coming over. Is he? I did not know that. Tim's awesome.
A boot. If you're saying a boot, you better be Canadian. Or I guess you could kind of be like Midwestern. Like
yeah, I was
upper
gonna say
Midwest.
Minnesota for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But Joe, you have a friend coming this weekend. That's fun. Are you gonna make him watch wrestling with you? It sounds like it.
It'll
Make him watch Double or Nothing.
Probably AEW since it's Sunday night, because WWE is in the middle of the afternoon on Saturday. But yeah, so we'll do that, and I have to do high school graduation to attend.
Okay, all right.
You're a little old for graduating high school.
I'm working on my 3rd degree. Come on.
Joe didn't go back for advanced degrees. He just keeps getting the high school ones over and
Just
over.
a high school diploma 3 times in a row. Well, for you and your friend, it'll truly be double or nothing because it'll be 2 of you watching or neither of you watching.
Okay.
I'm so funny.
Well, how are you, Kate? I saw you got outside a little bit.
I did. I got to say, touching sand even better than touching grass. I went to the beach today. There was a guy who looked so much like David Wells. I couldn't stop fixating on like, is this David Wells? And then I was like, probably not, because he looks like David Wells from when I remember David Wells, which was like 15, 20 years ago. So I'm guessing it's not, but he looked so much like him. I was like, I don't want to be the weirdo staring like at this guy, but I was like, he is a doppelganger of David Wells. But yes, it was very nice to go to the beach. I am like in mid healthy changes, and I was like, I'm gonna take a day off. I was stepping up a lot at Fightful while Sean was gone. I was kind of burned out. I've been job hunting with more intensity of late, so I was like, I'm just gonna take a day, but at the gym, but on my health plan. Goblet squats are back in my life, and those can go fuck themselves. But other than that, things are good. So I took a breather, and it was really nice because it was like 90 here. I don't know how it was by you, but it was like I walked my poor dog has like a fur coat on more than like your average dog. So I took her out and she was miserable. And I was like, I'm just going to let her sit in the air conditioning and go to the beach for a few hours. It was delightful, but I was cooking. I have makeup on, so you can't tell, but I was definitely like a little sun-kissed, not burnt, but definitely redder than when I left for sure. But this was also last licks before it gets really annoying because all the college kids are going to be out. Like post Memorial Day is when the beaches are actually open. So that's when like lifeguards are there and everybody's going on vacations and students are free. So I was like, this is my last chance before they get overcrowded and overrun with little brats.
Like,
well, yeah, I don't
around
want
people.
I am good with like at the beach. I would prefer it be me, several football fields, another person, so that doesn't feel like creepy and I'm abandoned. Preferably some lifeguards in there, but like there's also a difference between like there's people at the beach and like holy shit, it's overcrowded and I can't even like hear through my own headphones that I came out for Serenity, as Jersey beaches can get, but this one's a little more off the beaten path, so which is nice because it's actually the closest to my apartment. It's called Seven Presidents, but I've never looked up like who the presidents are named after. Like which presidents it's named after. So
That's just members of the band Dead Presidents.
That would be rad. Were there 7 of them?
I don't think so. I just went with that.
I mean, if we're making up regular presidents, we can make up we can make up band members, certainly. But thanks to everybody joining us in the chat. There's a lot of you in here today. Thank you so much. SJ, 1LT Photo, Tim McFowle, and Mike, who left us already. He just came in to support Ryan, of course, because they're besties. But we are gonna talk some Dynamite. Before we get into that with the fellas, I think we need to address the elephant in the room, and that's that Eddie Kingston is out. And Hipotna is going to be out for months, and it happened during a New Japan match with Gabe Kidd in what looked like a pretty preventable spot. And I'm not okay. I'm not okay about it. Not even a little
It's your
bit.
fault.
It is not my fault.
Well, let me put it this way: one of your favorite wrestlers in your favorite promotion.
How is that my fault? I didn't set up the
I
tables.
just think karma.
Karma?
I thought it wasn't her fault. I thought you were Goodwill hunting her.
What's
Karma?
fault with? Yeah,
I'm
karma.
Awesome Kong. I'm not Karma.
Wow.
That was a me level joke.
Humor and healing.
Humor and healing. I'm just trying to get through. I'm trying to get through. Very, very sad about my Eddie, but we are going to
say
talk.
what it was.
It was torn ligaments. It was ugly.
ACL.
But they didn't specify like which ones.
ACL. Did you say ACL joke? Because I thought that's what I heard, but I wasn't sure. But we'll cover all that in news and notes quickly after the commercial break. I was just walking the dog, so I didn't have time to gather it all together. But we are going to talk tonight's Dynamite as well as some news and notes. Well, news and notes? We're going to talk some notes.
News and nose, guys.
News and
Torn
notes.
ACL meniscus per 1LT Photo. That sucks.
Yeah.
That sucks a lot.
I don't know why Kate did this to him.
We're going to talk about some news and notes. We're going to talk about Dynamite. We're going to talk about Double or Nothing because we were going home tonight, baby. It felt go homey, but it felt all right. So we are going to get into it all. But first, before we even break for commercial, we'll see how prepared Ryan is. Okay, the trio has been out of action for a little bit. Our personal death triangle. So before we go to commercial break, I'm going to tell you about the best merch that you can wear for summer.
Oh, that's a Joe job. That's not a Ryan job.
I do it when Kate's not here.
When did that? Yeah, that never got delegated to Joe. I didn't approve that. Fine. You know what? We'll go to commercial break, and I'll tell you all about the Mark Order t-shirts after. How about that?
Fair enough.
Oh, he's so ready. I'm Brian. I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Then break.
Every one of you for tuning in every Monday night to listen to The Shining Wizards.
So ready.
If you'd like to continue to support us outside of listening, we've got a few ways for you to do that. If you shop at Amazon, go over to amazon.shiningwizards.com, do your shopping as usual, and when you make your purchase, a little bit of that purchase price will go back to support the show. If you like to wear t-shirts, merch.shiningwizards.com will take you to our Pro Wrestling Tees store, where we've got over a dozen great designs from over 11 years of professional wrestling podcasting. You can become a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/wizardspodcast, where each and every week we call out your name as one of our show producers, and the more you support us, the more things that you're entitled to receive, and believe me, they are fantastic. If you can't support us monetarily, if you don't shop at Amazon, that's absolutely fine. Continue to listen to us wherever you listen to us on the World Wide Web, and make sure you like, rate, review, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Doesn't cost you anything, helps us out, and we can continue to bring you the love fest that is The Shining Wizards.
What's up, folks? It's your boy, the Impact Player, Mr. Philly Ray, inviting all of you to check out the Turnbuckle Throwbacks Wrestling Podcast. Join us as we cover all things current in the world of pro wrestling, as well as paying homage to the old school, the Squared Circle. So listen in and find out why we are the recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment broadcasting. Find us on all social media platforms and anywhere you get your podcast from. And as always, we are the proudest members of the Shining Wizards Network and Rant Entertainment Media.
Are you tired of being lied to every day by the mainstream media?
Do you want to know what's really going on in the world?
Do you want to make up your own mind about things and not be told what to think or say?
Then listen to Inconclusive Breakdown, a weekly anti-PC look at the world of entertainment and current events, brought to you without censorship or filters.
You can find us everywhere you listen to podcasts, BitChute, and on ShiningWizardsNetwork.com.
And also, we're a proud member of the Shining Wizards Network.
Got 30 minutes to kill?
Come check out 30 Screams or Less, where we review a horror movie in 30 minutes or less. We cover new movies and old ones too.
We'll give our honest thoughts on the movie, good or shit, as well as a rating of each one that we watch.
New episodes weekly, available on the Shining Wizards Network and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Corey.
Come check us out at 30 Screams or Less.
G'day guys, my name is Thomas, one half of the Broadcast Podcast. With our podcast, we go back and watch wrestling events from WWE, WWF, WCW, ECW, AEW, and many other wrestling promotions. You can check us out on Twitter at The Broadcast, that's TheBrokast, and you can also download all episodes on Apple Podcast, Castbox, Castro, and many other podcast apps.
You like your music heavy? Then check out Radioactive Metal on the Shining Wizards Network. For over 16 years now, Radioactive Metal has been one of the longest running podcasts. Over the years, we've interviewed some legendary metal acts, had some awesome discussions, and cranked a hell of a lot of tunes. So join your cool Uncle Snowy and his co-host Aaron for the audio mosh pit that is Radioactive Metal here on the Shining Wizards Network.
Well, the action is underway!
What's up, everyone? When on the Shining Wizards Network, be sure to check out Wrestling Night in Canada. If we're not recording another kick-ass podcast,
Or playing in punk bands,
or recording kick-ass heavy metal albums,
then we're sitting back, we're grabbing a couple brews, and going over everything to do in the world of pro wrestling.
because we're from Winnipeg, you idiots.
The Mark Order Podcast is the only show you need if you're looking for dedicated coverage of everything AEW on the Shining Wizards Network. Join us live on YouTube every Wednesday night at 10:15 p.m. Eastern after Dynamite to chat along with the show. If you can't join us live, listen to us on your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on all social channels at MarkOrderPod and use the hashtag #JoinTheMarkOrder, because if you don't find us,
we will find you.
I'm Kevin Rogue.
I'm Al Day.
And we're a couple of down under pounders that co-host Rogue Day Dots, an action figure collecting podcast where we talk about, well, just about anything that tickles our fancy at any given moment.
We're grumpy old men, and sometimes people get on our nerves. And when you get on our nerves, guess what? You get off the lawn.
Get off my lawn, asshole! We also go on a little bit of a mission. We go back and we're grading every wrestling figure line that's out there. I'm talking LJNs. I'm talking Jacks. I'm talking Hasbros. Who doesn't like a little Hulkaplex? It's a Gorilla Brain Wrestling podcast production found on the Shining Wizards Network.
I'm Duke Bags.
Kevin Rowe.
And together we are the co-hosts of Your Duke and Road. If you want to hear about some terrible wrestling shows, we got you covered.
Well, we talk about good ones, too.
We're currently talking about the death of WCW.
I know what we're fucking talking about. Sometimes we get guest spots, like from the Taskmaster. I like to listen to the Year of Duke and Rope podcast. They're funny guys. That I like when they talk about the Nards plows. I like Nards plows. That's a good move. And I like the Dungeon of Doom. You know, sometimes I call my butt the Dungeon of Doom. Thanks, guys.
To Oklahoma.
Let me tell you a little bit about my favorite wrestling podcast. All right. It's a podcast from two men, Duke Bags, Kevin Rowe. They talk about professional wrestling. It's a man's sport. All right? And who better to talk about a man's sport than Oklahoma?
And once in a while, Vince Russo stops by.
Oh, you piece of shit! If you're not listening to the Year of Duke and Rope podcast in the back with the boys, you piece of shit, I don't know what you're doing. It's, you gotta slide one in there. If you're a man, you're talking about something only a man can do. You're talking about sliding one in there. Bro, take the time to slide one in there. All right, bro, you piece of shit. Slide one in there. A Gorilla Brain Wrestling podcast production that you can find on the Shining Wizards Network.
Well, we're back. Kate's not, but we are. But before we continue, while Kate's muted, before we continue, I want to do a special shout out to someone, because we lost their chat somewhere in the grand scheme of our chats. Scott George, you are the worst person ever. I can't stand you. You are just the worst. This has nothing to do with the fact that you're always taking shots at me and I'm just returning the favor. This is totally sincere.
I think you're becoming a liability to the show, because
It's quite
between Jesse Ozog, who is delightful, and Scott George, also delightful, kind of feels like it's a you problem. But I know how you can solve your problems, Ryan. A little retail therapy. A little retail therapy on ProWrestlingTees.com at the Mark Order shop. You can buy one of 4 great designs. I wish somebody had them up and ready to go. Somebody prepared.
Apparently.
A 45-minute commercial break. And
Are we still putting this on me, huh?
You agreed to do it after commercial.
No, I didn't. I actually very specifically did not do.
Brian, we blame you for everything, so.
Hold on.
Last week I described the shirts for you because you had a tough time describing.
I will, and you'll have to do it again. Kate will have to do it. I do not describe well.
Describing what?
The t-shirt design.
I just don't know how to describe the variation in the shirts.
Kate, give me one picture for us since Brian didn't have them up on our screen.
I will just. Oh, here they finally are. God, It's like I don't even pay you guys or something sometimes because we don't make any money off of the show, but we can if you buy a Mark Order t-shirt right here on display. For beautiful designs. You got the logo right in the center of your chest, right where your heart is. Your heart can be with the Mark Order. The Mark Order can be with your heart at all times. You got two of the font variations, one that is double-sided, one that is single-sided, and my personal favorite, the double-sided pocket square size. That's always my favorite. I like those little pocket square designs. Everybody else likes the big one. They want more bang for your buck, but that one is my personal favorite. So head over to Pro Wrestling Tees. I'm sure they're running a Memorial Day sale. They're always running something over there at Pro Wrestling Tees. So check out one of those 4 great designs. Think of us when you're picking up other t-shirts, or just buy all 4 so that you can have one for 4/7 of the week, or all 7 days of the week if you wash your clothes. Just wash them. I know that's foreign concept for some wrestling fans, but I feel like we have a pretty hygienic chat just based off of like gut instinct.
But what people wash them?
You know what? I would rather they wash them than avoid washing
Thank you,
them.
Joe. I really thought, I was like, how did Kate not say wash there?
See, it got teed up for me and I knocked her out of the park right there. But let's talk some news and notes. I already mentioned the Eddie news because it made me so sad. But a couple of other pieces of news that were fun that came across this week, according to FightClubSelect.com. One thing that was good to see, and I was wondering about this, was Tay Conti is back in the ring and training. I don't think she's close to a return. It sounds like she just got back in the ring, but she was on such a tear before she got pregnant. She had really picked up some momentum. The Jericho Appreciation Society stuff didn't go super well, but she was really a star of this division. I'm so intrigued to see how she comes back, where she comes back, when she comes back. But just good news to see that she's getting in the ring again. I loved her match with Britt when she came out with like the Brazilian flag and her hair all done. I felt like that was like her most shining moment. But are you guys excited to see Tay Conti back? I am.
Yeah, I think she'll be. I think we're missing something, and I think she'll add some more depth to that division. I think if you really want to like ease her in, she could tag with Anna Jay again. Her and Anna always seem to have really great, depth matches for the women's division. So
Definite badasses. I agree with you. It's so interesting because like Britt's been out for a while now. She's returning to a very different division. Tay Conti's been out for a while. She's returning to a very different division. I don't know if we're going to get tag belts, but it is great that we have ROH as a place for people to go to. Tay coming in, she's played heel and face really well, right? Like she was dancing and so much fun, and then she turned to the dark side. But Tay J would be fun if they are looking for a tag division. Ryan, any thoughts on Tay Conti returning?
I think it's nice. I mean, we'll have to see, obviously, the timeline on that because she's just getting back in the ring. But she is a fun style with, she likes all her creative kicks, which I actually think blends well with a lot of the talent they've brought in recently.
For sure.
I'm stuck on Joe's idea of putting Tay J, and I know they say Ty J, but come on, guys, just say Tay J. Let us have our name back together. I'm still thinking there's room for a women's tag division. I think there's more room than ever. I think we'll talk about a match tonight that even proves it further to me. They do work well together. Anna Jay kind of needs something. She's been doing great in the ring. They just haven't given her the Stardom crossover has been fun, but if they're going to keep her around, if they're not sending her over there for a run or anything, she needs more character, not work, but a character here to dig into. So that would work. So yeah, I'm excited for it.
I had this thought because we've seen Deeb's dojo. Her dojo has no students. I think her recruitment methods have not been very effective so far. Her being in Serena Deeb's dojo, I think, could be like a really interesting place for her to go because she does have the kicks and she does have an interesting style. If you put like her and Layla Hirsch with Serena Deeb, I just think that could be really fun. And I think she would be kind of the one with a bit of a different flavor there because Layla is more technical and strong. Serena is as technical as you get, right? So I think she could add something and it would be different than super bubbly Ty Conti, or I'm sorry, Mello. I should let her be as divorced as she wants to be from her ex, Ty Mello. I think it would be cool, and I do feel like if you're gonna have a dojo, it should have some students in it. And she's not the strongest talker, so having someone else kind of lead that, I think, could be good. Like she could just be a cool, calm, and collected leader, and somebody else could kind of be a mouthpiece for it. But that is just me. And then some other news that I thought was very fun. Sting's son is training. That was confirmed earlier this week as well. He had that extremely memorable spot in Carolina, of course, with the giant stinger splash in the corner that everybody was raving about. But training, and I think it would be very cool if he was able to continue the legacy if that's what he wants to do. Also of note, Sting and Darby Allin still talk every week, and Darby Allin is a part of that training process. It sounds like very closely integrated. So I don't know if that relationship also continues, or if Sting retired from in-ring does reappear, maybe sporadically reappear to get his son on television. Seems like a really, really cool possibility for him. I'll start with Ryan since Joe jumped in first last time, and because you're such a Sting guy that you did the most beautiful face paint tribute that we've ever seen in the history of face paint.
Ever.
Your thoughts about the Stinger legacy continuing?
So Stang is what we'll be going with, I'm guessing.
Well, no, I don't Stung.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Stung.
Stung. It's Stung. It's perfect.
Listen, he did well in his brief showcase. We'll see. He looks like he can go. Like he looked athletic, I should say. So see McFall's saying that in the chat. Also adding that hot and hot, respectfully. So just
well, there you go.
I want to put that out there. But respectfully. But if he can wrestle, the name will carry him to being able to at least put it out there. So hopefully, I mean, he's got, if he can do anywhere close to what Sting could do, we're in for a good time.
It's also kind of cool because the name will carry him very far in what seems like every aspect of the business, right? Because he's just such a treasured and beloved person. Sting, a rarity that was on good terms with pretty much every wrestling promotion he was ever in. So those tracks are greased for him if he's interested in them. And then just to round things out, All In and All Out are no longer going to be super back-to-back, it looks like. They are moving All Out back, which I think is probably a good decision, especially because back-to-back was pushing it anyway. Now we have so many other pay-per-views sprinkled in. We have Dynasty, we have Wrestle Dream, we have all these things that are now crowding the picture, that back-to-back, when you're asking people to pay for both, is like, I have to pinch pennies, but it'll get me to the next couple of months. Now we're getting hit over the head with so much stuff. Also from reports, it sounds like the negotiations, everybody is looking towards Max on both sides of things as a major piece of what's going on with AEW as a brand. So hopefully that bleeding stops, but all interesting developments, all good developments. I think you have to spread out those pay-per-views to give a little build. But Joe, what do you think, especially from the perspective of for this year, we have this multi-man picture with the new elites and the AEW OGs or whatever. That story having some time to breathe, I think, is good, because I think just that match could have anchored All Out on the back week of All In, but you're also going to want a lot of that talent to be appearing at All In, especially like your Bryan Danielsons, Okada. People in the UK are going to want to see Okada under the AEW umbrella, right? So your thoughts on how much we're shelling out for all of these pay-per-views, but also more importantly, kind of spreading those apart.
Right. The pay-per-view can't get to streaming services fast enough because, if you're paying $50 a month for every pay-per-view and keep adding more, obviously, on top of other shows we're paying for, I mean, it just piles up. So, and I like the fact they're giving a little bit more breathing room this year. That's probably ideally what they wanted to do last year, but I'm guessing maybe scheduling conflicts, trying to get Wembley last year and everything else played a part in that. So, but yeah, having two big shows like that back to back wasn't feasible, I guess, in my mind.
You know what's so funny was I appreciated All In for what it was, but I thought All Out was one of the best pay-per-views of the year. And
Yeah,
it had
All
its
In-
back against the wall and felt so completely different that I was like, maybe they can pull it off, but also part of All Out's success might have been because of the weird circumstances.
Yeah, it definitely felt more like the spectacle and just kind of, you're filling the stadium for novelty more than
Yes.
maybe some of the wrestling itself, where All Out really had all the bangers and gave us a lot more of what we thought we were going to get from All In.
Agreed, right? We had Kenny and Takeshita. We had Danielson and Ricky in that strap match. There was something on that card for everyone. The infamous meat match was born at All Out. But some good stuff there. Ryan, in a rare move, I'm going to remember to ask you both on all three questions and not accidentally exclude one of you. I'm on my shit tonight, I guess, but I think it's good to give some breathing room for the build, if for nothing else. And I feel like their builds have gotten more evenly paced as we've picked up this busier schedule. There were a lot of times those builds felt very stilted. Now somehow we found a rhythm, even though we have more of them, which is kind of funny. But what are your thoughts on this newly adjusted schedule?
It makes sense because of the pay-per-views they are. Like, in a fun world where these aren't like where All In isn't so huge, you could almost tell the story over 2 pay-per-views and have that be a thing. Like, you're basically plotting out a week-long story that starts on one pay-per-view and finishes on another. Problem is All In, so you're gonna want everyone you can get on that card. That makes doing what I just said a little more difficult, because you don't want to have almost like a filler pay-per-view in between. You want to have a big thing, so you have to do it. And it did get weird last year because there really was no booking after All In. It was kind of like, and here we go again. And yeah, the match is delivered, but there was no story. So even a couple weeks gives you some time to rebuild some momentum for something. So it's the smartest thing they could have done. Having to stick to the holiday weekend didn't make sense. Like, you could move it. You're not beholden to that.
Especially because WWE said, we will take that, right? They ended up competing with it anyway. I agree. Like, the biggest story going into that was your Continental title, right? With Mox and OC, that first match, which was huge and delivered. But other than that, there was not a ton of story there other than the real life stuff of CM Punk and what got set up on that Collision. So I agree. I think this is a good call here. I'm excited about it. I feel like they're in a good groove right now in AEW world with how they're building to these pay-per-views. I also think with All In, you're crazy if you're not trying to book a European tour around that at some point, right? If not this year, in future years. So you're going to want those weeks on the back end possibly to fill some European arenas, but good stuff in AEW world. I'm sure there's going to be plenty more news after Double or Nothing. We got kind of a card of bangers last time. I feel like there's some more story-driven stuff in this. Some good stuff. But let's flip over into AEW Dynamite. We don't do super chats on here, so just feel free to comment if you're in the chat. I'm sure Jesse Ozog will come over soon enough to torment Ryan. But if any of you would like to torment Ryan or just have things that you want to say, we'll try and bring them up the best that we can. But we'll dive into Dynamite overall. You know, it's kind of weird. I felt like last week felt go homey, and then when I was reviewing the breakdown of it, every single angle had some sort of post-match brawl or whatever. Every single one. And I was like, well, no wonder it felt go homey. They put the trademark of go home shows on the week before the go home. Tonight actually felt a little bit more balanced to me. I have some complaints about it that we'll dig into specifically, but overall, I thought this was suitable for a go home. This didn't feel like it was overwhelming in either direction. I thought it was pretty good. The Young Bucks stuff continues to crack me up. But Joe, what were your overall thoughts?
Yeah, I felt like the pacing was better this week for me. Just watching, I usually go on if the first hour moved by pretty quickly, or feels like it moved pretty quickly, then I feel like it's a good pace. So I think maybe the opening match kind of helped that set the tone. So that opening match felt more like almost like the main event, but we'll get there.
We are going to talk about that opening match and how hilarious I thought it was that you had Orange Cassidy's intro and Will Ospreay's intro back to back, because what a juxtaposition. But Ryan, what were your thoughts overall tonight?
It was fun.
I think there's a
No way.
fuck you. It was definitely go homey. But that ending had me laughing so hard that yes, I said that on purpose. So there you go for you. But that ending had me laughing so hard that I almost forget what happened through half the show because that's just what's dominating my brain at this point.
Well, let's dig into the show. I think the best thing that emerged from it for me was I think the trios titles are starting to feel important again with what got set up, and that makes me very, very happy. But Joe alluded to it. We start with a really, really fun tag match, which is Will Ospreay and Orange Cassidy against the Undisputed Kingdom here. And this went largely the way that I thought it was going to. You do have some interference from Wardlow with the clothesline to Will Ospreay, but Orange Cassidy misses an orange punch. Trent hits a knee strike. End of Heartache. That's our match. Now, a couple things that made me happy with this. One, wrestling math tells you Roddy's dropping to Will Ospreay. I kind of figured that was going to be the case here, but if that's what we get out of the ending as another hint towards that, that makes me very happy. Also, I liked that Orange Cassidy and Will Ospreay, who were opponents at previous pay-per-views, were tagging here. Like, it's a nice evolution of the friendship. I have no idea why Don Callis is anywhere near this face team. It makes absolutely no sense. But I like that they were opponents, and now that they were on the tag side of things. I also loved Orange Cassidy and his lazy entrance with the Titantron with the stick figures and the just looks like Sharpie. And then Will Ospreay coming out, as we've called him here, like a golden doodle. Just like with all this passion, all this fire, such an elaborate entrance. I loved them being on the same side of things. I hate this Don Callis trying to pull Orange Cassidy into his shit thing. It's so stupid to me. I don't understand Orange Cassidy and Don Callis being anywhere near each other. It's wildly silly to me. But Ryan, what did you think of our opener here?
Well, you're going to be shocked when I say I thought it was a lot of fun and a good time.
What?
Obviously, a lot of shenanigans towards the end, which I expected. Anytime now that you're dealing with the Undisputed Kingdom, you're going to get a shenanigans heavy match. Will Ospreay is just I think the team of Will Ospreay and Orange Cassidy is just the best thing that you could have. I mean, just so fun. But it was fine for what it was. It was actually a very typical go home match where you tag team the different guys who are competing and you let them have a match. And of course the heels win because, well, I don't know what's going to happen on the pay-per-view, but you always to me, it always feels like the heels win going into on the go home week. It's like, what will the face do? Like, that just seems like a standard wrestling trope.
Sure, and it's the setup for the babyface to get his big win, right? Like the comeuppance is coming. You go home on the note that the babyface went out in peril. Don Callis does get involved in this, but my only, I don't have a lot of complaints with AEW right now, but one of them is that the playbook is feeling a little stale. Like I think there's ways to freshen up things because it is getting a little paint by numbers with the interference and the post-match beatdowns and, okay, this guy faced your guy. I think the return of MJF when he's able to come back will be very helpful for that because he offers something that feels so different than everything on this. I wish they would put Ricky Starks on TV. I don't know why they're not, but I would like to see fresher approaches to some things. But Joe, you alluded to it. You said this felt like the main event to you. I kind of agree. I feel like with these stars in this, it's bound to feel that way. What did you think of our tag match? Feel free to call as many spots as you want.
You know, I didn't mark a lot of spots because I figured you were going to be here tonight. So I decided to leave that to the professional.
Oh, thank you.
But I think the reason I felt like your main event was, you know, just the way the match was laid out, the post-match shenanigans. You know, it had that feeling, and you know, if it wasn't for the Young Bucks being involved in, you know, the Elite storyline, everything, it probably would have been the main event. So I like the odd pairing of OC and Will Ospreay, like we've talked about. The styles are just so differing that it makes it fun. I thought they worked really well together. They worked better together than the team of Trent and Roddy, which was nice to see. And I think my one takeaway from the match was that Orange is kind of like Ryan, and he can't do the United Empire sign. He tried.
He can't. Yeah, it's I don't know if he's watching the show. If he is, I'm flattered. But yeah, I thought this was a lot of fun, and I'm kind of glad Orange Cassidy can't do it because I don't want him anywhere near this faction. I would like this branch of this faction to break up very much. So we will move on from there. We have some backstage shenanigans with the Young Bucks, which has been so fun. They have branded security with them now, which is hysterical to me. And they are saying that Darby Allin is banned from the building. I can't remember if it's this segment or the one we get later, but they say he Final Fantasied himself in front of a bus and he's still trying to get back in here. Absolutely cracked me up. And Sanjay Dutt enters the picture. Sanjay, who I think is underrated, even though he's with the stable that I hate, says that the Bucks took care of FTR and his Indian Giant will destroy the American Dragon tonight. Matt says if he beats him, cool, but if he hurts him, great. And Dutt says as long as there's money in this envelope, he's going to break Brian like a pencil. And then he breaks the pencil right in front of them. I thought this was perfectly fun. I'm loving these. We also got more pump up your Reebok stuff from the Young Bucks. We get a segment later in this, which is so much fun, with Okada and his $1 million smile shining into this very 90s milieu. But Joe, we'll start with you. Any thoughts on this backstage here? It's kind of nice to see Sanjay Dutt back on Dynamite.
Yeah, Sanjay had quite the role tonight. Little did we know that he'd play such a big role. I thought he just could, have a couple of lines and then do your usual Sanjay stuff later on in the match. But yeah, I like him. He's entertaining. One of my favorites.
Yeah, he's great. I know he plays a very big role backstage too, but I love him as an on-screen presence. So I was also very excited to see that. But Ryan, any thoughts on the Bucks and Sanjay and this interaction?
Thousands of trees died to make that one pencil, and you laugh about it.
I know the sacrifices. I feel like as a hippie vegan, I should be more upset by that, right? But
no, I mean, I love anytime Sanjay's on too. He is great. So, and the Bucks and him just have good chemistry. So it worked real well. Nope, all good, all fun.
I agree. Good stuff there, and great stuff coming up here with Jay White and Pac and his mystery opponents. Some iffy stuff on how we got here, but I'm glad this is where we got, because I can't really tell you any title defenses that the Acclaimed daddy ass had outside of TMDK, and that's only because I'm a homer and I talked to some of them. And I got to see it live at WrestleDream. That was such a boring reign to me. I am already geeked out for this match. This should be a very, very fun combo of things. But Jay White, he comes to the ring and he kind of just does some typical heel trolling, but I loved him being like, is it Pac or is it Pac? Because I do that every single episode of this show. I do that every time his name comes up in my life. And the Guns can't even help him decide. You got Austin being like, no, like Tupac. And then you've got the crowd yelling Pac at him. Like, all sorts of fun here. But ultimately, what this ends up being is a Death Triangle reunion. Now, I'm all for this. I loved the way it was revealed with the three of them standing in different spots, kind of coming out of the tunnels and center stage. I thought that was very fun. They just went really far out of their way to say, no, it's not going to be the Death Triangle. So one of two things happened. One, Ray Fenix was not supposed to be cleared from the injury he got when he came back from injury. And now he is, which is great. Or two, this was supposed to be a swerve that didn't quite land for me, because everybody just kind of assumed this is who it was going to be. If it couldn't have been them, I would have said, get GYV back in here immediately, please. But very happy to see Death Triangle. Anytime I get to see any of these three on my screen, it's a good time. Never mind all three of them together. This just feels like such an upgrade in the trios picture for me. And Joe, I want to know your thoughts on this, because I'm now very excited for this match. Very excited for it.
I want Death Triangle to take the belts off of the Bang Bang Gang so badly. And also, secondly, when did we go to Bang Bang Gang officially? I might have missed when we made that transition from Bullet Club Gold to Bang Bang Gang.
I think they did it kind of right before they became the Bang Bang Scissor Gang so that they could get to being the Bang Bang Scissor Game and ultimately break that up. I feel like it was shortly before that. But you're calling for the Death Triangle to beat them. Are you just craving Jay White in singles action, or?
I am, and I mean, I do appreciate his humor and his shtick that he's doing right now with in the 6-man tag right now, and the Pac and Pac thing remind me of. It reminded me of Step Brothers, where it's like, are you saying Pam or Pan? Pam?
Pam? Hello, Miss Lady.
Yes. I'm ready for Jay White to be a single star and stop doing the comedy stuff.
That's fair. I don't blame you for wanting to see the serious side. I will say, I am glad that the use of Jay White is to restore importance to a belt on this program. I think that is good, but I understand what you're saying. I kind of want to see that too. I want to see single star mean asshole Jay White again rather than Silly Goose. But if he's going to be Silly Goose, at least these titles are starting to mean something again, because I can't imagine that trio is going to be anything other than awesome on this pay-per-view. Ryan, your thoughts?
So I love how much the Guns have won you over. Just makes me so incredibly happy.
I'm like good with them now. I'm not
No,
like,
they've won you
sick.
over. No, they've won you over. You enjoy them every time they're on your screen now. I get it.
Do you know when they actually started to win me over?
The Jericho Cruise.
Yeah, they just seem like the coolest dudes in the world. They just didn't seem like tag champions to me. That's always been my thing. But
I think the other thing is they're kind of feuding with the Acclaimed, and the Acclaimed are kind of like dropping on your list of teams you enjoyed. So, like, all things equal, they look pretty good now.
They do, simply for not being like homophobic assholes on my screen. Like, I will take it. We didn't cover it in news and notes because I didn't think it was that noteworthy because it's not a thing. But like, Bowens did say they have singles aspirations in an interview, and that made me very, very happy to hear, because Max Caster aside for me, Bowens is a phenomenal singles wrestler. That's how I knew of him. And I feel like there's a hell of a singles babyface run in that guy. But Ryan, we're talking trios action. I didn't mean to derail you, but I kind of meant to derail you.
You meant to. No, when Bang Bang Gang took both titles, which I really wish they would just go down to one now if they're unified.
But you have 9 titles.
Yeah, when they took them both, this is what we hoped for: like good, insane trios matches with real opponents, real teams. Bang Bang Gang has been on TV almost every week now. Not always in match. Well, Jay White's had a couple matches. There's been a couple. You're gonna have a tag match Saturday. Like, this is how you build a trios division of a feud, with equal talent levels. A really good match. I actually think the Guns did a good job of that. I think it was later on in the show, but I'm gonna say it now because I'll forget if I don't. Where they run down like, oh, so you're brothers. Okay. Oh, so you're tag champs? So were we. Like, allowed the Guns to put themselves on equal footing. That, yes, the Lucha Brothers are the Lucha Brothers. We all understand that, but it at least doesn't make them feel as out of place. Like, they seem to be there. So this is what I was hoping for. Would I love for Juice to come back, take the role of Jay, and Jay to go do singles? Yes, but until that can happen, this is okay.
Agreed. I miss Juice Robinson so much, and I knew it the second he went down that I would. Like, it was crazy how much that guy just was almost like he decided and the world decided he was over, like all in one foul swoop. I'm also so devastated that we have this timeless Tony Storm run and he's not around. Like, because I'm not normally like, you're a couple, you have to be on screen together, but those freaking goofballs, I would love to see.
Oh God, yeah. Even just for
like
like backstage stuff, like not on Dynamite, just for like a YouTube short or a Twitter short.
A passing interaction,
yeah.
even. Yeah, like would pop me huge. Pulowski had said like he desperately wants her to like say that we had booked this whole thing where I was obsessed with the idea of Dalton Castle being with Tony Storm. And he was like, oh my God, he could be her Liberace. And like, as as part of that story goes, usually that like woman becomes a beard for the gay musician. And like his whole thing was like she should find out like apparently I'm still married to somebody named Juice. I don't remember marrying a beverage. I was like, oh god, that would be so good. But it didn't happen because they never do anything with ROH, and it breaks my heart every Thursday. But today is Wednesday, and we got some wrestling to talk about. Well, this fucking sucked. We got Hook versus Brian Keith versus Shibata, and what the hell are we doing? I saw a double pin on NXT last night. I was like, that was stupid. That one was really poorly done because somebody pinned the shins, which is not a pin, I don't think. And we get a double pin here. And what does Brian Keith have to do to buy a storyline and or a win? Man, this guy has been around for months now. Super impressive every time he's on screen. They don't use him for ROH. It seemed like he might be kicking around there for a while, but they just make him look weaker and weaker with every appearance. And I'm waiting for this guy to get in a story. But we've got Shibata and Hook with the double submission. So not a double pin, excuse me. Which was better. Better double submission. You have Jericho on commentary. I can't stand this. I feel like, I don't know if Ryan's turned on it yet, but I feel like he's gonna if he hasn't with this Jericho stuff. I feel like you're gonna turn on the learning tree because Jericho he's getting like to the smarmy level where I'm even like, all right, which means I feel like you're probably even more bought in than I am at this point.
Oh, I'm bought in on this.
Of course you are. Of course you are.
I wasn't. I very much was not bought in for a long time. I fully admit I was out on Jericho. I thought he should go away, that his character needed a refresh. And now there's, I think it was Fightful Select put out a couple weeks, like last week or something, that like people are claiming that Jericho knew the reaction he was going to get. I don't know if that's true, but he's done a very good job of adapting to it. Where like, I desperately want to see him get his ass kicked. Like, we are at that stage. Now, do I want Shibata involved in that? No, there's levels to this. I think it's fine for Hook.
Sure.
Hook didn't have anything else going. Let Hook. I know people always complain, what are they like? What do you get out of Jericho? Hook's a perfect guy for Jericho because what was Hook doing otherwise? He had that awesome match with Joe, but like, he still didn't have a lot. Like,
like how Joe showed up was it last week or the week before where it was like, yeah, why don't you learn from me, kid? Sounds like a very fun possibility to open up in the future. But I kind of get Shibata too because he's bulletproof. Like, he could take a loss or a pin and it's not going to really matter. It'll break the hearts of like New Japan nerds, but like, that's not going to like hurt him in storyline wise. Like, I don't think he's headed toward a title, but what did you think of the match and particularly the finish, Ryan? Because I was like,
okay, so that I can listen. I think the match itself was fine because you have two very good wrestlers, and then you have Shibata, who's a legend. Then you have Brian Keith, who's awesome, and they have Hook, who's coming along to be at a really good level. But the finish sucked. I hate that type of finish. I'm not gonna lie to you. Never made sense to me. Because like part of the reason I hate that finish is it negates the logic of like when someone's pinning someone. Why don't you just jump on top of the guy pinning them in a three-way and then you both get a pin? Like, if you can both submit someone, why can't you both pin? Like, I know that sounds weird, but I just always assumed once two guys are touching, it negates the finish until they whip this out where it doesn't.
I just hate this as a way to get to a triple threat. Like, it feels like there's such simpler ways. And how vulnerable are they going to make Brian Keith? Like, let the guy get some W's. But, Joe, did you hate it as much as we did?
I did, and it was very convoluted. And one of my notes I have was poor Brian Keith being stuck in a submission sandwich because I don't feel like he was necessarily needed in this match. You could have got the same outcome without throwing Brian to the wolves and having a weird finish. You could have had, Hook and Shibata one-on-one and have Big Bill somehow interfere and take out both of them, or something like, and Jericho being, oops, an accident. No, just better heal up, and I don't want to rush you for Double or Nothing. We'll face you off when you're healthy again. And you could have had a different way to get to the same outcome.
Sure, I agree. I feel like dragging Brian Keith into this to drag him back out of it is bad. And I also just kind of feel like it should be a one-on-one match between Jericho and Hook again, because we don't have to spend 6 months on this like we do with everything else with Jericho.
Yeah, Shibata's the one who doesn't fit in this. I do also want to point out, I love the chat just realizing that I'm not making it up when I say I can talk myself into liking almost everything I watch.
Well, here, I will say this. I don't want to see this. Like, I don't want Jericho on my screen, but if Jericho's gonna be on my screen, this is way better than what we were getting. Babyface Jericho doesn't work. We've seen multiple attempts at it. It doesn't work. It definitely doesn't work in AEW. He works better as a heel, and this, like, smug, shitty thing is A, like, up Ryan Alley, and B, the only way to reverse engineer out of this, like, or just hit reverse on it, not reverse engineer, but just like to get out of the pickle that they created for themselves with this terrible babyface run. Like, this is the best thing that they could do. So I do grade it on a curve in that, like, they dug themselves into this hole. I don't want to see this, but if you have to dig yourself out of that hole, I think this is probably the way to do it. So there's
Yeah,
that.
I just, again,
This is up Ryan's alley.
Yeah, it's right up my alley. Such a, like, it's right up my alley. It's a smarmy guy like that, swarmy guy like that. That's whatever. Smarmy. That's the word I wanted.
He's good at it too. Like, there's
very
no,
good at it.
I think the other thing for me is, like, he can't go in the ring anymore. So I'm like, great, all of this blow off is going to be wasted on a shitty match. Like, it's been rough. It's been rough. Hi, Greg. Hi, other people that have joined in the chat. Appreciate you guys.
Ryan, you like carnies. You're a big carny fan.
Get him some funnel cake.
Small hands. Did I just make an Austin Powers joke? I just made an Austin Powers joke.
You did make an Austin Powers joke. Well, we will blissfully move on from that Austin Powers joke to... we got just a Willow Nightingale and Mercedes video package. Not a ton to write home on there, but some good stuff. And a very cool Takeshita and Jon Moxley one as well. I don't have a lot to say about what was contained in them, other than the fact that it feels like the production got upgraded and that these look very cool. The intro to the show tonight was a matchup between whatever this Mad Max spinoff is and AEW. Like, it feels like their higher value production has kicked in, which I think is good. And I also think it's a symptom of competition because Kevin Dunn isn't ruining WWE anymore. And Jesse Ozog is here to ruin Ryan's day, though. But we'll say hi, Jesse Ozog. We appreciate you being here. 2/3 of us appreciate you being here. And you know what? 2 for 3 will get into the Hall of Fame every time. So we will take that. Furiosa, that's right. That's the name of it. Because I wanted to sing Thunder Rosa's old theme to it. Like, Furiosa. But I'll leave the floor open to either of you if you want to comment on those video packages or if you want to send a special message to Jesse Ozog.
I have no comment on the video. I mean, I liked the Furiosa thing, but 2 out of 3 wouldn't just get you into the Hall of Fame. It would make you the single greatest hitter of all time. By a landslide.
Baby Jesse Ozog's the single greatest hitter of all time.
No.
We got Takeshita versus Matt Sydal here. As the greatest hitter of all time joins our chat. We thank you so much for being here. A 666 hitter. Incredible stuff. But Matt Sydal is dead.
Well, it's really
RIP
667.
This is why nobody likes you. Like, nobody needs
Just saying, you'd have to round it. And
smart ass.
6 is greater than the rules of rounding. 6 is greater than 5, so you got to round up.
Matt Sydal died. Show some respect. Stop nitpicking over rounding decimal places and show some respect for Matt Sydal, who sadly passed away via Takeshita today. Huge blue thunder bomb, huge elbow to the face, incredible DDT in this. Just some very fun squash action from Takeshita. Dude is a star. Like, he looks so great every time he's out there. I have to assume he's beating Moxley on pay-per-view because otherwise, why wouldn't it just be a title match if you're going to make this an eliminator match? I kind of initially hate that, but what I do like is it's getting Takeshita a big win on pay-per-view, which is something that I think he desperately needs right now. So I do like that. But Ryan, we'll start with you. Why
Start with me.
are you not a 667 hitter? And also, what did you think of this squash? And what we're getting at Double or Nothing for Takeshita, because it feels like maybe he's getting on some sort of track here.
All right. So to answer your first question, hand-eye coordination, talent, skill, ability, speed, strength, limberness. Any other questions on that one?
That was like 7 or 8 compliments that you just gave to Jesse Ozog. So thanks.
No, I mean he's not a 667 hitter either, but
pretty sure we're 2-3 every time he's in here.
No.
Sometimes 3 for 4 back in the ant days, but
No. This was a murder on TV.
There's been a murder.
I think Takesha's gonna win. I think there's gonna be some shenanigans, and he's gonna win. But this is a nice way for both New Japan and AEW to get this match on both their TVs, because I have a feeling the title match will be on New Japan programming. So you'll have Moxley Takeshita on AEW versus New Japan. You know, I don't love it in terms of like proving ground matches never really made sense to me. But
well, the thing that makes proving ground matches special to me is also that there's an added stipulation of you just have to last the time limit. So it's not like you
technically proving.
Yeah, and I actually think that's a really important distinction, because if you can hang with someone for 10 minutes and that earns you a title shot, that makes more sense than I beat you, I have to beat you again. So like, I just don't have to lose for 10 minutes is completely different than actually pinning or submitting a champion. To me, as a viewer, like there's a really big difference in that.
That's why there's gonna be shenanigans.
There's a lot of shenanigans, though. I'm getting shenanigan overloaded, but we did also say we got to save it for the prediction show. I don't want to let out all of your synonyms here, but we also after this have Moxley coming in for the save, and he gets in the ring and stares down Takeshita, and then just clocks him, which I thought was super fun. Moxley being IWGP champion is the double-edged sword that happens every time they strap up somebody that's on AEW programming and that they're not in Japan defending it. Right now is not like the biggest deal because Dontaku is what it was, and Battle of the Super Juniors is what kind of is in the spotlight right now. But Takeshita versus Moxley is a whole bunch of fun, and I'm just gonna say, I wouldn't be mad if Takeshita not only won this eliminator, I would not be mad if he won the championship and went to New Japan and beat up some people over there. I think that could be extremely fun. I don't think they'll do it, but my New Japan side of me would love that. Joe, what did you think of our match and this little post match that we get to, but kind of even bigger where this is heading?
I think my biggest takeaway from the match was just really watching Takeshita and how much he's come into his own as a heel.
Yes.
Where initially, when he became a heel, it felt kind of uncomfortable. He didn't quite have all the mannerisms, but now he has the look, the facial expressions, the heel work in the ring. So I feel like it's really come together over these these months of him being in the Callis family. And other than that, yeah, I mean, Mox had a nice, easy night of work. I mean, can you imagine going in there and bonking a guy on the head and then saying, "I'll see you at Double or Nothing," and that's it?
I mean, that is a lovely little payday for sure. For sure. I agree with you that Takeshita's really grown into this, and I feel like part of why the adjustment might have taken place is because everybody actually wants to cheer this guy. He's incredible. He's young. He's a phenom. He's good looking. He's very easy to get behind. So I think there was an adjustment there of like, how do I work as this assassin heel when everybody actually wants me to succeed, and also nobody likes my manager and wants me to break away from him. But like, legit, there's a lot there. But he's been a whole bunch of fun. And speaking of whole bunch of fun, I love it when Swerve wins matches with the house call. I like it so much better than the stomp. And that is what we get here. Nick Wayne and Swerve with a nice match here. Surprised this didn't happen in Seattle, but glad it happens here because Seattle was 2 weeks ago, I think. So kind of thought they would tell the story in a different order, but no complaints about anything we get here. Swerve looks great as a champion. We get a nice DDT in here from Nick. I feel like Nick Wayne and Nick Wayne and Shibata could have like a vibe off with their themes. Their themes are both a vibe. I'm telling you, go back and listen to both of them, and you're gonna be like, "This is the most chill anyone's ever been in a wrestling ring." But there was some fun stuff here. This was kind of just advancing the story that we knew we were getting. It was almost like a stretched out squash in some ways. We knew how this was going to go, but always nice to see the champion on the go home show getting in some reps here. Joe, we'll start with you. What did you think of our Nick Wayne match? Nice to see him wrestling. It's been a minute.
Yeah, speaking of, young wrestlers who people usually want to kind of get behind and have a hard time, rooting against, I think Nick Wayne was kind of in that position early on until really healing it up more with Christian and falling into that character more. But also, when you said your little vibe off with Shibata and Nick Wayne, I'd also like to throw in Angelico.
Oh, good call.
A good one too. So
very vibey.
First of all, I will never not pop when Swerve says, "What's up, turds?" Like when
it's such like a random 90s, and he's so cool that whenever he says turds, I'm like, what are you talking about? It's so great.
But I think that kind of, we were talking about production earlier, and having him start in the back, backstage there with the Bucks, and then having the camera follow him out, and then later on we'll talk about the post match. But the match itself was fun. I think I really enjoyed a little bit about the history between the two, obviously, and even to the point of, when he did the house call, he pretty much he whispers in his Nick Wayne's ear that he's sorry, and he kissed him in the head. I was just a little bit surprised though that Nick decided to go out there alone initially. So I'm like, I don't understand if that's just really just all part of the plan, or if he really had this whole I want to beat Swerve on my own. But,
well, that's what I think we got that last week a little bit, right, with Nick Wayne of I want to do this on my own. So maybe that was supposed to carry through, but you're right that it is a foolish move to go out there against the champ without some backup. But we get it after the match because we get Killswitch attacking and we get Christian coming down to check on his son. But Swerve just crotches Killswitch in the corner, which was pretty great. And Cage runs out of the ring and around it. They're playing some Duck Duck Goose out here, but Swerve follows. And we get Cage hopping into an SUV to end this, but there's someone in the driver's seat, and oh my god, did Prince Nana ever get such a pop. I love seeing that. We get Swerve grabbing Cage through a window and pulling him out, tossing Cage. I keep getting my Cages mixed up because Brian Cage is peripherally in this angle too. He tosses him against the SUV and drags him for a little bit, but a nice DDT from Swerve and all this, and Nana handing Swerve the chair for the concerto, but Christian rolls out of the way. Some fun post-match shenanigans and all of that too. I loved the concerto callback, and I also love that Swerve, and this is kind of what you were saying, Joe, I think a little bit of he doesn't lean away from doing really vicious things just because he's a face. Now he just does them to people that deserve them. The concerto is a vicious move. The Swerve Stomp is a vicious move. So, Ryan, I want to get your thoughts on this match and also our post-match here a little bit.
Really
sorry to wake you up. No,
I
I'm on my game
I was
today.
waiting for it. I was like, you went into the post-match. I'm like, she forgot.
No.
I was going to let that.
I flip-flopped it because I threw the post-match in for Joe last time, and now I'm playing Even Stevens. I got a method to the madness.
I was ready to go at you. Match was a lot of fun. This was a nice, that's my saying. I realize I have a catchphrase. Match was a lot of fun, but it is true. So honestly, if I ever come say match wasn't fun, it was a really bad match.
I'm like, oh shit. Yeah.
Yeah. What I liked is this was a showcase for Nick Wayne, who finally got to showcase what he could do. I mean, he's been able to do that a few times, but it's very sporadic. So every time he can is important. Kind of a showcase for Swerve too, though, to be like, hey, don't forget.
Just a reminder. Just a reminder. Yeah.
I'm not all violence. There's a lot of skill here too. It does further the story of Swerve beating up Christian's son, which is really funny every time I think of that, and just solid. But really, the whole thing comes down to the post match and Nana pulling up in the car with the coffee or whatever in hand, just sipping away. Now the question is,
Did Swerve do you think they actually thought Swerve would be able to open the door and get Christian that way, and then the lock prevented him, or was he intended to pull him out through the window the whole time? Because I felt like he actually thought he'd be able to open the door, and it just wouldn't open, and he improvised on the fly.
I had that thought too. It always looks more dramatic and better when you pull them through the window, but the way it was executed made me think maybe that happened because it looked like there was just a little bit of a hesitation there. But the pull through the window is always so much more dramatic. So a happy accident if it ever was one.
This is a great comment.
It really is.
I literally had that thought. I didn't say it out loud, but I was like, off air, I should say we should have a Match is a Lot of Fun shirt. Because I think people would want to wear a Match is a Lot of Fun shirt because a lot of people have fun at wrestling shows.
That is so. I always say, like, I can't provide the technical side that you and Joe seem to see more than I do. I just forget these things. I rate in my head, was it fun or wasn't it? And luckily, most matches are fun. There is the occasional not fun match. The ending to Hook, Shibata, Brian Keith was not fun.
Right.
The whole match was fun. The beginning of the match was fun, but the ending was not.
Yeah,
I rate on the fun scale.
A little Ryan fun scale of like, you start with a smile, but like how big the smile gets. You know, you have like the giant over the top smile, and you just have like the grin.
I think it should be like, how many funs did you have? Like 5 funs, 7 funs in the Tokyo Dome.
How many funsies?
I do think it's funny.
It's like a funs, super fun funsies.
Apparently I have a catchphrase. This match was a lot of fun, but that is just how I feel.
It is your catchphrase, whether you want it to be or not. So
now
you are Ryan from the Mark Order, and you do not have a catchphrase, except that you do.
We can continue, but I want to be clear. I'm going to say that again tonight, and I will not be doing it intentionally.
Oh no, I know.
I need everyone to understand. I will forget this conversation in about 3 seconds, and when I go to think of the match, I'll be like, oh, that was a lot of fun.
I don't know anybody that podcasts on a consistent basis that doesn't have those. They sneak in all the time. So you are bound to have one. But I'll tell you what match was a lot of fun for me, because this was the most Kate shit in the world. Kyle O'Reilly and Malachi Black beating the ever-living dog shit out of each other. Holy shit. I had a lot of fun with this one. A lot of kicks to start off with. What's fun for me about this is these guys have faced each other a lot of times. They faced each other on the Indies. They faced each other at NXT. This felt very different than anything that they've done before. I'm bummed because it's gonna be remembered for the absolute power force of blood that Malachi Black gets doused with. But the match itself is what I will take away from it more than anything. Like, these guys beat the crap out of each other. They did so much like shoot feeling, Muay Thai stuff, like your tie, my tie, whoever's tie. I liked it, but it was really, really, really good. This was so for me. Just a ton of kicks, a ton of strikes, a ton of blocks. Both of them are incredible at selling, especially KOR. So like it looked like one of these kicks could knock you out. And then because they're both really good at their jobs, it furthermore looked like those kicks could knock people out. A lot of striking in this. Really fun brain buster in this as well. I loved what we got out of this. We get the knee to the face in this towards the end, but ultimately we get Malachi Black shooting his knee up. It's a fake out. What a feint that we get at the end of this, and the cover. Really, really good stuff. But the post-match, Malachi Black is standing there, and the lights flicker, and there's a red flash on the screen, and that is not the only red that we see. An absolute gusher from the sky. Like when you adjust a shower head or a hose, and you accidentally put it on like the fucking blast your face setting. Like if you did this as a kid and then you like sprayed it and you're like, oh, like it was one of those. It was so powerful, this blood that took him out. He was covered in it. And then we just get this vignette on screen from Adam Copeland that I thought was a really fun way to do this as like a mind games. But it sure feels like we got Brood. I'm really hoping for a Gangrel appearance now. Kind of feels like they have to call for it. Copeland has been vocal in interviews about the fact they didn't get to do this with Joe Day, that he wanted to bring back the Brood, but WWE felt like the fan base wouldn't be smart enough for it. So I'm very happy. I'm very happy that this is not even for me. I'm just happy it gets to happen because it's for a lot of people, and I feel like he is having the time of his life, and that just translates. So really cool stuff. And to like out spooky the spooky guy is also just a fun story that we don't get to see a lot of. So I will take it. But Joe, this match fucking ruled, and then the ending, very polarizing. I'm actually not polarized by it. I'm like right in the middle where I'm like, it's not for me, but that's just fun. What do you think about this?
Well, the match was super fun.
It was. How many funs do you give it?
I mean, it's hard to be perfect, so I wherever that second to last one is,
sure,
I'd go there.
For fun.
Yes, yeah, exactly. You mentioned kind of the Muay Thai start to the match and how it felt very AEW Fight Club. It felt like it could have been a lights out match and the unsanctioned type of fight match that really fits both their styles. I know why Malachi wins, but like I kind of would like to see Kyle get some W's here.
Yeah,
I feel like he's eating a lot of losses lately. So
they're high profile ones, but you're right. He needs some wins under his belt soon.
And then the brood bath, I mean, we've kind of seen it before, but not to this level. So they went to the all in on projectile blood, and it looked like Malachi had gotten jammed. It was so thick and syrupy.
That I am told it is whatever it is strawberry flavored. So he's going to be tasting strawberries for weeks. But continue.
But yeah, I think it makes sense that we might get a Gangrel cameo at Double or Nothing. And I think I told Ryan this last week that I think Sunday will be Malachi's Judgment Day.
Interesting. Okay. You think he's gonna start wearing purple, maybe?
Oh, I don't know if we go purple. Maybe we go like lavender or a different hue. Gimmick infringement.
Touche. Ryan, do you think it's gonna be Judgment Day for Malachi Black? And also, what did you think of this match in the post match? I bet you thought it was a lot of fun.
It was enjoyable. It was pleasant. It was delightful.
It was a lot of all the matches on the show. This one was a lot of fun.
No, I mean, this was a kickapalooza.
Kickapalooza, indeed.
It was hard-hitting, intense, delightful, fun. But no, I mean, this was awesome. These two. It wasn't a match I thought let me rephrase this. I never thought I wanted this match because I never thought about it. But as soon as I saw it on the card, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna fuck."
Yeah, and it did.
And the post match also. Before I get to the post match, it's interesting because Malachi obviously won because he's the one in the feud with Copeland. I'm wondering though, this feels like they're telling a story for O'Reilly here, and I'm very interested to see what that is. The losses I don't think are. I don't know. I'm blanking on a word I want to use. I think the losses are intentional beyond just like, oh, he's a guy and like have him lose. I think there's a story behind that we just haven't gotten to yet. So that's very interesting. I don't know what it is. It just the way they've built that character since his return.
He's coming back post injury too. Like there's certainly he could be questioning himself, all sorts of stuff with that. Yeah.
That's what I think it's going to be. But the strawberry jam blood, one had me singing in my head. Now, when you said it was strawberry, it made me sing in my head. And when we rise, it's like strawberry fields from whatever that song is. Days go.
Are you asking?
Yeah. Anyway.
What song Strawberry?
Oh, and then it also had me think of Spaceballs.
Yeah. That's
I think it was supposed to make you think about the Brood, actually.
Lone Star. My mind doesn't work like other people's. I don't. Of course, I went to the Brood, but I quickly left the Brood. Spaceballs and other places.
Fair enough. Enough.
I do want to point out. Hold on. There was a chat. I hate when I click the chat and then it.
So Ryan, you're going to start singing Strawberry Wine.
No.
2LT Colonel Photo saying Grand Girl still has matches. In fact, I believe one member of this 3-member team has commentated a Gangrel match. Joe, how was it?
It was very broody. He wore a white shirt.
That would be Gangrel versus Sean Carr, and I was the one who called it. Thank you very much.
Yes, I'm giving you I'm acknowledging you.
Well, that's good because we were the only part of the show that acknowledged women today. Unfortunately, we only get this one women segment, but it was a good one. We get Toni Storm and Mariah May versus Saraya and Harley Cameron, who I'm really impressed by early on. Like, she is so new to TV reps, and she's not the greatest, and she still has some fluidity to work on, but she is really holding her own in here. And I actually feel like the offset with her and Saraya is really, really good because I think Saraya, what she's best at is eliciting crowd reactions when she's this type of heel. And it kind of frees up Harley to do what she needs to do. And also Toni Storm and Mariah May, not slouches. Mariah May and Harley had really good chemistry before. Mariah May's she's getting a ton of reps. So I can only assume that she's going to be the one to dethrone Toni because she's on Collision. She's on Dynamite. She's on Rampage. She's everywhere. And I really liked that commentary put over really hard today. That she's a hard-hitting son of a bitch because she's beautiful and has almost the diva motif about her, but she hits like a Joshi wrestler. And I think when we're throwing the split personality thing into all of this, it's good that commentary brings that up when she is with Toni Storm so that we don't forget the other side of what's going on with her. But this match was fun. I had no problem with this. My only problem was that it was the only women's match on the card. It was, however, 10 minutes long. You get a Mayday and a Storm Zero at the end of this, which I thought was great. Smooches for everybody. But I think Toni Storm is set to beat Serena D. But my guess is Mariah May, maybe at All In, starting to maybe be the one to take the title from Toni Storm. I think that could be a really fun place to do it because of her roots. But this was perfectly serviceable. Saraya looked good. This was the best we've seen in a while from her, and Harley can hang, man. That makes me really happy. But we'll start with Ryan here. It is funny that the comical heels are getting such big reactions, and how often it's because of smooches.
Smooches. Match was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I actually really like. I've liked them as a comedic duo in the back, but even as a wrestling team, I really like Harley Cameron and Saraya. I think it works. This is why, again, I'm once again back in on a women's tag division. It's because of like those two, and there's a few others, but like because you have a lot in ROH that could come up and fill that role.
Hell yeah, you do.
Those two, like, they work really well, and they kind of cover for each other's strengths and weaknesses kind of well. Like Saraya works better in those short bursts, I feel like, to have the matches she can have, and Harley Cameron's just fucking hilarious.
She's a hoot.
So I'm all for it. And then, Mariah May and Toni Storm, they're two of the best in the business right now. It was funny the aftermatch was funny because this is where I love wrestling logic. So Serena comes in, she hits Luther, he goes out of the ring, she hits Mariah with the chair to the stomach. I believe that's all she hits her with. It's just the chair to the stomach, if I'm not mistaken. And then she goes after Toni. Mariah will be in a match where she gets hit with chairs to the back, chairs to the stomach, and will get up and wrestle. But that one chair shot to the stomach there.
Yeah, broken ribs, probably. My God.
I just love it. It again, I'm not criticizing it. It is notorious. It is wrestling booking from every territory that has ever existed in the history of mankind.
Yes.
It just always cracks me up every time I see it. And also that the chair is adding to that submission when in reality, I think it's helping the submission, like making it better for the person taking it.
Probably, yeah. I was thinking about that too.
Because you're not really cranking back on them, which is where like the pain would, because it's really supposed to hurt your back and your leg a little bit. But
Okay, I'll go with 2LT that Deeb is a tactical striker and hit just the chair just in the right
That's
spot.
yeah, no, that's a good one. I like that. I like your thinking on that.
And Big
Yeah,
G with the point
say
nine.
yeah. Tony did
Tony
not
did
watch
not.
out for the shoe. Sarita Deeb coming in prepared with the shoe, looking great by the way. I liked her outfit today. Looked lovely, but some fun go homey stuff. 10 minutes, 5 women on television. I'll take it. If that's going to be my only thing, I will take it. But that brings us to a quick backstage from Jay White and company. They're just kind of reiterating what we had before and a better promo than what we got before with the guns. To Wright's point, this was kind of bringing the guns up to the level of Guns Up. What? Guns Up.
Oh.
Guns up to the level of. Why are you being weird at me? Why is Ryan being weird?
Hey, Joe. What did you think of the match?
Oh, son of a bitch. I was doing so good.
I'm just gonna let it go. I just wanted to. You both covered it so well.
I was doing so good. Joe, what did you think of the match?
Zach and I had no business wearing a wool coat when it's 90 degrees out in Southern California.
Thank you. See, this is why we have to remember to throw to you, because that is fucking ridiculous.
And other than that, then the smooching and the package pile driver after that would be very confusing if I got kissed and then took a pile driver. I'd be flustered.
We gotta get Joe out there dating some freaky women. That's what I think.
Hot tags and package and storm zeros. Yeah.
Joe, how about this? I'm gonna volley it right back to you for our Bryan Danielson and Satnam Singh match. I think it's hysterical that Bryan Danielson was like, you know what? On my birthday, I want to wrestle Satnam Singh in the main event, and I want to win with the label lock, but I want all of the shenanigans that I could possibly get my hands on. Satnam Singh is not very good yet. That's okay. He can sell, which is good for a big dude. But he's not great at this, but Bryan Danielson sure as hell is, so it made for a decent match. It did not feel like a main event in any capacity other than the fact that Bryan Danielson was in it. All sorts of shenanigans here, but I'm going to throw to Joe because I remember things and let you talk about it first.
Well, I definitely didn't have this on my 2024 wrestling bingo card. Bryan Danielson versus the Ultimate Techer, Satnam Singh.
Yeah, no, me either. The powerhouse Bryan Danielson versus technical genius Satnam Singh was. Whew.
Yeah, I think one in the million is actually like the number of technical wrestling holds he knows.
It is. I want to see him versus ZSJ. I want to see him versus Hechicero. I want Nigel to come back for Satnam Singh. I want it all.
Otherwise, I mean, it's kind of what you expected with the whole side differential and knowing that there are going to be some shenanigans eventually at the end of the match and after the match. My only other takeaway was really just, we talked about Sanjay earlier, but I applaud his strength for manhandling that announcer's table. I mean, usually you have to slam a guy through it, but like he was able to tear it down with his bare hands.
Yeah.
I understand how easily he breaks pencils because he can break a commentator's desk.
My goodness. He's probably the strongest one in that whole group. I am in love with this comment from 2LT Colonel Photo saying he did fist explode a guitar. That is, you don't see that every day. I get why this had to go on as the main event for all the shenanigans, but this also I think would have been a great opener because people were like, what the hell? Why not? And it's Danielson. Would have put the tag match at the end, but I get it. So much silliness. Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. We get the beat down on Bryan to cause the DQ. All sorts of shit. Ryan, because I'm so good at remembering to go to both. This match was 5 minutes long, by the way. 5:01. And the shenanigans were 20 minutes long. Not really.
The shenanigans are why this had to main event, to be quite honest.
Yeah, the
especially that last bit
EVPs
of
come in
shenanigans.
here. Yeah.
But the match itself, I didn't mind. Like, it wasn't like what I would say an objectively good match, but I didn't mind it.
you're as an opener, it would have been a lot of fun, but
You love fun.
I do. Something those big guys will. It's very rare you find a big guy who can really go. So I'm not surprised that Satnam's like not there.
It's like
It's just-
been a few years though.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like it's just rare you find a big guy that can really go. So it just doesn't shock me that Satnam's not one of them. You know, like big bills who are tall and can wrestle are very, very rare. It's why usually they're huge hits. You're more often getting the great Khalis of the world. That being said, he can sell, and it's sometimes very funny to watch him, and he plays that role very well. The comedic big giant who's also somehow intimidating just by his natural size. So that all worked, but it's really all about the shenanigans.
It was about the shenanigans. The chat asking why wasn't Lance Archer here? They did have the beatdown on Collision. The Righteous did, so he kind of already played his role in this. One thing that I had heard, I think it was Alex at Fight Club, said, man, this would have been so much better if it was Bryan Danielson saying, send me the biggest guy you could find, and they send out Satnam, instead of announcing this ahead of time. Because I think everybody just went, what the fuck was this match? Like, and I kind of agree with that. Like, send me your biggest and your best. And they literally send the biggest motherfucker that they could find and Satnam Singh. And I agree with him on that. I think that would have been good. But post-match, we do have Jarrett going for the guitar, but Danielson escaping. A running knee from Lethal. But Bryan has the guitar. Dot running in and shoving Bryan. All sorts of stuff here that leads to the EVPs coming out. Jarrett beating down Bryan with commentary explaining that FTR is down and out and that Darby is banned from the building, so Danielson is all alone. The Bucks shake hands with Jarrett and people as they leave. And then, of course, the coin drops and here comes Okada. Here comes Jack Perry to attack Danielson from behind. A Rainmaker from Okada. We go to the Tron and Tony Khan has driven Darby Allin. And Darby has a fucking flamethrower. My notes say a fucking flamethrower. And Bryan is up and tosses Nick off the stage through a table. Darby just wide-eyed and maniacal at the end of the show. I love that this is how Tony Khan comes back as being the getaway car of Darby Allin style. I thought that was so much fun. All freaking shorts. That is the most go homey, go home of all time. Your thoughts?
Which one of us?
I'll leave it to you guys can fight over it. That way I can't exclude anybody.
Just giving me the nod, so I'll go first. I was dying. I was cracking the fuck up. From Tony Khan being the one to drive to Darby. And I knew what it was the minute he got out of the car in his hand. I was like, oh my God, he's got a fucking flamethrower.
So insane.
And just the fact that he came out just blasting off, like not just threatening it with like a little squirt, just letting it go full steam. It was fucking great.
Look, I know the ladies love it when you don't just have like a little squirt and you go full throttle. You know what I mean?
Sponsored by Blue Chew, so
I don't know where your head's at. I was talking about the flamethrower.
yeah, sure. I will also say Corey Brennan of Fightful had the best tweet of the night for this.
Which was?
And it was, Darby Allin is not the member of Team AEW expected to show up with a firearm.
Very fair.
That
very
is
fair.
I in case I missed it, because there was a lot going on, I was popped. Did any of the announcers say things are heating up?
That I did not notice. Missed opportunity if they did not. But just a really, really silly way to end Dynamite and what's been a very, very fun angle here.
Joe?
First of all, Kate, your thoughts? Flamethrower?
Banned from the chat.
Okay, timeout.
Get out of here. Get out of here, Pieces. We never want to see you again.
We're not actually going to time you out, but Pieces, you're on a timeout.
Yeah. You're like in like a super nanny way. We're not going to time you out of the chat, but Hello, Will Gray. We're just wrapping up here. Sorry that you are catching us late, but we are talking about Darby and his flamethrower. Joe, the floor is
I
yours.
kind of wish they would have put the Darby and Tony arriving on like a bigger picture instead of the angle of shooting the Elite looking up at the monitor, so you could easily see that it was Tony and whatever else when Darby coming out with the flamethrower. I had two references in my head of one of Anchorman, like it's the whole Brick, where'd you get the grenade? Or
where'd you get a hand grenade?
Where'd you get the flamethrower? And secondly, to go back to Ryan's Spaceballs theme of being raspberry and jammed, it's Spaceballs the flamethrower.
Oh yeah.
So
hell yeah.
Kids love it.
Yeah. So it was an interesting choice, but it's a step up from the baseball bat that Sting gave him.
Sure. I have a feeling Darby Allin just has 800 of these sitting at home in like a shed somewhere.
Like legitimately, not even kayfabe character. Legitimately,
I did appreciate
100%.
Matthew Jackson's cell at the end after he went to the table, and the camera is still on him, and he's just selling his injuries, and everyone's chanting, and he's just saying no.
He's so I always feel like Nick is like the ring phenom and Matt is great at selling and pacing and timing and all those things. Him selling as a comedic heel is like the most Matt Jackson-y that you can get. Matthew Jackson-y that we can get. So what a hoot of a way to go home. We still have Rampage, we still have Collision, but this is your go home Dynamite to Double or Nothing. I'll coordinate with these fellas and we'll probably get you a prediction show if we can squeeze in the time to talk some Double or Nothing. But it'll be some good stuff. Looking forward to this pay-per-view this weekend. Guys, if you could leave a thumbs up on this video, it would be much appreciated. It helps people find us in the algorithms more than you know. I did also want to give a shout out to our friends at the Shining Wizards who are looking for the same support. If you could go to Wizards Podcast, subscribe, leave them a thumbs up, support them. We would very, very greatly appreciate it. We are a part of the Shining Wizards Network, as you saw earlier in the show with our commercial block. There's plenty of great shows you can check out, but the Shining Wizards, the home of where we are. They've been doing it for years and years and years. So check them out. Some great interviews over there. Good fellas.
Some of the most fun interviews in the game. To be
Hell
quite
yeah.
honest.
Hell yeah.
They
It's not like, so what do you do when you're not wrestling? It's none of that bullshit. They are extreme.
No, it's when's the last time you pooped your pants?
There is more often than not, when did you poop your pants? And for wrestlers that went to Japan, did you eat the raw horse meat? Because that is like a staple.
But the nice thing there is it's standard across the board. No matter who comes in, those are the questions. That's not a like, oh, we save it to embarrass someone. Nope. Everyone. And then Matt will inevitably explain the last time he pooped his pants to make everyone feel comfortable.
It's true. It's true. Everybody except the listers, but no, it's a great time. Check them out on Monday nights. Leave a thumbs up. Subscribe over there as well. But we are going to get out of here. You guys know about the t-shirts. We told you about them earlier. We're not going to go through the process of delineating who's going to pull them up again. But 4 great designs on Pro Wrestling Tees. If you're shopping their Memorial Day sale, please keep us in mind. Pick up I almost said a Shining Wizards t-shirt. Support them too. But more
buy theirs,
importantly,
buy ours, buy everyone's.
But this is where it's at for sure. Before we get out of here, we're gonna plug all of our shit. Ryan, who runs the Mark Order podcast, social media.
Not well, but I do it.
Yes,
you can find me on all our socials at Mark Order Pod. Just don't be a
dickhead.
Thank you. And then you can follow my history blog, hereforhistory.com, @_hereforhistory on socials. And that's where you can find me. And I will be here, maybe alone, doing a monologue on Saturday night for a Collider cast. It could just be a monologue. Maybe I'll read The Great Gatsby to the people. Who knows?
Sure. I will not be here as I'll be. Oh, that's actually in the afternoon though. I have a WWE pay-per-view, but the Saudi pay-per-view I think starts at like 1. So yeah, I might actually be able to swing by for that one because I don't think we're also doing Collision. But Joe, I have so many questions about cereal and I need somebody to answer them all. Do you know where I could find such information?
Well, I can give you one source. I don't know how trustworthy it is, but it's entertaining nonetheless. So you can go find my cereal review blog go to my social media at _Asian Joe, and you'll find a link to the review blog where I review random novelty cereals I come across or any other random musings I have about cereal.
Delightful. A great follow on the Twitter machine and a very fun blog to read. Guys, you can catch me on social media at Miss Kate Fabe. You can catch me on Fightful Select on Mondays and usually Saturdays doing a Collision post show, and Raw on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays on the main channel reviewing NXT, ROH for some reason, and also SmackDown Wednesdays here at the Mark Order Podcast, wherever I can be, and Excite Wrestling doing commentary. This weekend, I will be on Fightful Select doing our specialty Saudi Arabia post show called Sands of Blind, where Alex doesn't watch because he has morals, but I have none. So I watch, and then I describe to him what happened. That's what I've always said that. But I describe to him what happens in the show, and I also plant 3 lies, and he has to detect them. So it's one of our most popular things that we do. And then I will also be on Fightful Select on Sunday reviewing Double or Nothing. So stay tuned, but we'll also, I'm sure, get you a Double or Nothing prediction show. So lots of content coming at you right here from the Mark Order Podcast. But for now, we say goodbye and good night. It's the power.
This concludes the Mark Order Podcast. We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming.